Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Council Chamber of Monmouthshire County Council. This part of the proceedings is where we say prayers before the formal start of the AGM. So I'll invite Canon Mark Sodhi, my chaplain, to say prayers.
Let us pray. Father God, we thank you for the blessings of this civic year now drawing to a close. Especially we give thanks for the chairmanship of John. And at the beginning of this new civic year, we ask for your blessing on those who will take up office in this authority, especially for our new chairman and vice chairman, that they may be given the skills and the discernment necessary to fulfill the duty to which you have called them. We pray this so that your name may be glorified and your kingdom come in this county of Monmouthshire. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Chairman of Monmouthshire County Council.
Right, today I've got a script that's been given to me, so it's unusual for me to talk to a script, but I will follow it. Good afternoon. Hi, Sheriff, distinguished guests, fellow councillors, and welcome to the annual meeting of Monmouthshire County Council. So, item 1 on the agenda is apologies for absence. Do I have any apologies for absence? Councillor Hackett-Payne?
Councillor Sarah Jones.
Councillor Howard?
Councillor Down, Councillor Blateborough, Councillor John Marshall, and Councillor Ralph Chapman.
Thank you. Any other? Councillor Brittoni?
Councillor Armand Watson, Councillor Jessica Crook.
Thank you. No other apologies for absence? In that case, we go on to item 2 on the agenda, which is declaration of interest. Do I hear any declarations of interest? No, thank you. In that case, we'll go on to item 3 on the agenda. The next item on the agenda is the election of a new chairman for the civic year 2015-16. But before I call for nominations, I wish to address the council. This is the first time, colleagues, that I am standing up in this chamber. And for those who don't know, the Constitution says that when the chairman stands, if there's a foray or a heated debate or whatever, everybody else should sit down and remain quiet. I haven't had to use that this year, thank goodness, and so I'm taking the opportunity today to exercise that right. So, as is usual procedure, I'll give some reflections on my year in office. I'll be as quick as possible because I know it can get a bit boring sometimes, can't it? So, first of all, it's been an honour and a privilege to represent the authority, and we started off with the formal proceedings, which is chairing council. And that was a bit demanding at the start because you have various people who like to have amendments to amendments, and they like to have points of order, and you have to be on your fettle to work out whether it is an amendment, whether it is a point of order. But to that end, you've got some good officers alongside you, and I thank the officers for the service they've given me during the term. It's good to have those officers with you. Civic services started the year. You tend to be invited to the civic services of all the local mayors and all the other authorities surrounding Monmouthshire. So from as far west as Carmarthen to South Gloucester to Powys. So there's quite a lot of civic service one attends. And then you have the summer shows that come along, which you're invited to. And you represent the county when you go to these things. Visits, there were some very interesting visits during the year. It's nice to name drop and say a visit to Buckingham Palace for the garden party, and that was quite something to remember. Visits to the Senedd and Peterhead in Cardiff, visit to Llandaff Cathedral, which is for the World War I commemorations, City Hall in Cardiff for the Holocaust service, and dinner with the Bishop. So all those things were quite well enjoyed by Heather and myself. There was a visit to Peterhead in Cardiff for an audience with the Ambassador of Latvia. For those who don't know, the Ambassador, the Consulate of Latvia is run from an office in Abergavenny. And it's through those contacts that I was actually invited. So we went to Cardiff because it was the 6 months that the Latvian country of Latvia had the presidency of the European Union, and they were celebrating that. So that was good. And also during the year, visits come in the other way. We had some Chinese delegations that came to Monmouthshire, and that was very interesting. We had 2 delegations, and they were looking to forge links with Monmouthshire County Council, and it was very enjoyable to take the Chinese around the county in a minibus and show them the sites we have. And I think, to be honest, they fell in love with Monmouthshire. And I'm very hopeful that in the foreseeable future there will be something coming back to reward Monmouthshire as a county. There were also some Malaysian visitors that came, and they wanted to know how we did things, how we operated. And that was encouraging, because it means we're starting to make a name for ourselves as a county. And people are starting to sit up and say, well, how does Monmouthshire do this? They seem to be doing things differently, and they wanted to come and find out. And then there was the Armed Forces link. Because I'm the Armed Forces champion, it was a great opportunity to attend events with chains on and give it that extra impetus, if you like. And so we started with World War I commemorations at the start of World War I, 100 years ago. There were services of remembrance. There were special events in Chepstow, Monmouth, Abergavenny, and again in Llandaff Cathedral. We had a Remembering Them concert in Caldicot Castle, which was where the military wives performed. And there was a hog roast, and well done the events team for organising all that. And Wyn Evans was a soloist, and the Caldicot Male Voice Choir. And it was well received. And I'm still getting comments to this day when I meet people, what a wonderful concert that was. And it was all for the right reason. And I've just returned from Flanders on a private visit, but I was able to take advantage of that visit to lay a wreath at the Menning Gate. And that really brought home to me the tragedies of World War I, and it did bring a tear to your eye. And just before the end of my term, there was a visit to HMS Monmouth. And when you get piped aboard the ship, I tell you, you feel special. And you realise that you are representing the county and what an important position it is. There's some networking events with the forces. The Monmouthshire Royal Engineers, visited them several times. And again, we went to the inauguration of the new High Sheriff. There was a past commanding officer. And that was very enjoyable. I went to the First Rifles for the non-commissioned officers pass-out parade. And little did I know I'd be invited to inspect the troops. So I never thought I'd be walking on ranks of soldiers, asking them if their hair is hurting them because it's too long or whatever, and all the jokes that go with that. But that was quite an honour to inspect the troops. And again, we've got the community covenant that we've signed as a council. And there were a lot of projects, well, I say a lot, about 5 or 6 projects that were sanctioned by the Ministry of Defence in Monmouthshire. And it was good to attend those launches, if you like. And you'll be hearing more of those in weeks to come. Right, page 2. We also received, as an authority, the Ministry of Defence Employers Recognition Award. Must admit that was quite a surprise, because we went to a dinner in Cardiff City Stadium to attend the awards as a chairman, I thought. And to my surprise, all of a sudden, the name comes out. Pardon? And we had to go up and receive an award, which was, I felt, quite an award for the authority in their efforts to promote the community covenant with the armed forces. And then we had the White Ribbon Award, which is for the mental health Time to Change, where we've signed a document that says we will try and reduce discrimination against mental health. And sorry, the White Ribbon Award, I'm getting my words mixed up here. The White Ribbon Award was against women who are being abused in certain ways. The other one was Time to Change, so I got the two mixed up there. So White Ribbon, we had an award for that, and also Time to Change. And then there was the youth aspect of the year. I was very much wanted to involve the youth. And at the start of the year, I started having cadets from a series of organisations. So we had the Sea Cadets, the Army Cadets, the Navy, the Sea Cadets, the Army Cadets, the Air Force, ATC, and then we had the Fire Brigade, the Police Services, and St John's Ambulance. And we invited cadets to come to council meetings so they can see what happens and get a feel for democracy and to feed that back to their organisations. We went to a number of concerts involving youth, and especially the Gwent Music Youth. I thought they were fantastic everywhere we went. or to see the youngsters. And Heather and I expressed ourselves with one concert. There were 4-year-olds sitting tidily in the front of the concert, behaving themselves wonderful, and they just sat there for an hour and odd until the next act came on, and that was so moving. And then on the other extreme, we went to the Royal Albert Hall to see Gwent Music performing music from the youth proms, which is the other extreme, where they've actually been through the years of progression, and we saw the culmination of being at the Royal Albert Hall and these people performing. That really was wonderful. We went to the Young Consumers competition in Cardiff Stadium, and I liked that particular visit because it enabled me to nip sideways into the interview room and get my picture taken with all the things behind, like the managers have when they're interviewed. So that was quite a little picture for the archives. And then there was a Young Enterprise competition, which the local schools took part in Newport. And at the end of all that, I felt, well, I wanted to recognise the untold youth in the county, if I could, the ones that do a little bit of extra service. And so, basically, I invented a certificate of recognition for youth and invited, via the Youth Services Manager, various individuals to come to Shire Hall and receive a certificate. Couldn't cover everybody, but at least it was a pat on the back to some, and hopefully we can repeat that in the future. Chairman's Charities, Macmillan Support and Welsh Warrior. And I'm hopeful we've gone past the £8,000 mark, and I'm hopeful to go past 9,000 with a few more contributions before the end of today, possibly, because there are a few people who sponsored certain things I have to chase. On the charity side, we had an afternoon tea at Humble by Nature. We had a fashion show organised by Goodies, and Janice Davis in Abergavenny, thank you ever so much. She organised it all, and it was a wonderful afternoon on a Sunday, having afternoon tea in the Angel, and I was even encouraged to walk around with the ladies showing their wares, so that was something. They wears their dresses. Got to say that right, haven't I? Got to qualify what I say. I knew I'd make you laugh at some stage. And then we got the Chairman's Golf Day, orchestrated by Linda and Julia, and that really went down well, and I know the monitoring officer here can say he enjoyed himself on the day, and we had over 14 teams, I think it was, at the end, and they enjoyed it all and raised funds for the Chairman's Charity. And of course, on the charity side, my consort, Heather, sitting in the front, she did a sponsored walk on the Three Castles, which is over 19 miles, and it took her 10 hours all day, and she had 2 minders with her, which was Mark, the warden for Monmouthshire County Council, and his colleague, and did it in 10 hours, and I joined them for a small part at Skenfrith Castle, but I couldn't keep up with them, and I said, no, you carry on. So well done, Heather. Thank you ever so much for that. She raised over £1,000 for that, so I was very pleased with that. Other activities, I remember putting a medal on Sir Bradley Wiggins' neck for winning the time trial at Celtic Manor. That was something to remember. Went to the inauguration of Father Mark as a canon. There he is there. So congratulations, Mark, during the year. Page 3, and you're nearly done. And events organised by local mayors, from a murder mystery in Abergavenny to a concert in Caldicot, learning about problems with your prostate. I think you remember, some of you were there on that one. I thought that's quite an item on the concert. A man telling us all about prostate, but for good intent, don't get me wrong. I tweeted for the first time during the year, and I'd never done that before. And I thought, no, as a chairman, I think I will do that because I want to let people know what I'm up to. But you've got to be ever so careful because I purely put down what I was doing. There was no political intent, there was no comment of that sort. It was purely to let the people know what the chairman gets up to. And I tried to do that as much as possible. It was hectic at times, especially last November, because I was identified as having atrial fibrillation. So I always remember on November the 5th, I had to go off to Neville Hall Hospital, and I remember walking through the gates with my head between my knees because they were going to give me cardioversion. For those who don't know, that's where they put the paddles on you and they stop your heart and then they start it again, put you back into rhythm. Well, I didn't know whether I was going to come out of that, I'll be honest with you. But I did come out, and I'm back to fine A1 health, so fine fettles. So I'm afraid you stuck with me for a few years on council. But that was a heart-stopping moment, you could say. I thought that was the best you wanted. I thought that was. Right, so finally to the thank yous. First of all, thank you to my colleagues and officers for all your courtesy. I mean, it's been ever so well. When you pass people in the corridor and they say, thank you, Chairman, or whatever, that goes down a lot way to the Chairman when he's doing various things. It's nice to be acknowledged. And the support team led by Linda and supported by Julia and Steve, thank you very much. You've been an absolute crutch to the years, supporting me when I wanted to fall down. My chaplain, Canon Mark Sodi, thank you for all the input you've put, Mark. And also to the Vice Chair, especially for standing in for me when I had that rather naughty chest infection just after Christmas, and you had to do a few things in my stead. So I thank you for that. I did try to get to most things, but in the end you end up in bed, and that's what happened. Thank you, Heather, for your support during the year. She's got a full-time job, and the one thing she's not going to miss at the end of the day is the 20-minute turnaround times of coming out of work in Neville Hall and then having to change in a house, get changed, and then be picked up to go on to an event. And that's the way you've done that. I don't know how you've managed it, but you've been totally top drawer, elegant every time, and thank you very much for that. And I think Heather and I have enjoyed the experience. It's been a privilege and an honour to represent the county. And to Monmouthshire County Council, I say thank you very much for the opportunity. And I wish the incoming chairman the very best for the future, which I'm very confident he's going to do a grand job. So thank you very much. Councillor Peter Fox.
Thank you, Chairman. I wonder if you'd indulge me, and I'm sure my colleague leaders, just a few minutes. There's a few words I'm sure we'd all like to say to you, and I won't mention tweeting like a bird or anything like that. I'm going to keep very serious. I just really, John, I would like to say thank you. Thank you on behalf of the Conservative group, but I'm sure all members in this council for the tremendous job you've done as our councillor, as our chairman of the council, and what a fantastic ambassador you've been for this organisation. You've done a tremendous job as you've carried out your duties through the year, and there are many, many duties, and you've added to those measurably as well. Your example has been a lesson to us all. Your unique and extremely firm way of doing things have led to very high quality meetings, well controlled, and you know, we've all respected that, and it is needed in this chamber at times, and you've shown all of us and future chairmen how to do that. Your understanding of the Constitution has been a lesson to us all as well, and I thank you for the way you've conducted all of your meetings. Can I also take the opportunity to thank your consort Heather? I think, Heather, you've been a star. You've been brilliant. And the work you've put in to support John, and it's really important that a chairman has a consort, and you've gone above and beyond. And that recent challenge of yours of the Three Castles, you know, was amazing, and well done. We want to thank you for that. John, as I said, you've been a first-class ambassador. You've carried out umpteen, over 170 or more formal engagements without the stacks and stacks of other things you've done continuously, and you know, the initiatives you're bringing to even add to your workload has been really, really great. Your fundraising you've touched on, you know, you're moving over the 8,000 barrier, going to push on and make some more. That's a huge, huge effort. That's a really, really sterling work. And I know Macmillan Cancer Care, the Welsh Warrior, the Richard Hunt Foundation are really going to welcome that. Fantastic charities. ladies and gentlemen, as well as carrying out his regular committee duties, which he hasn't let go of, he's carried on doing all of his work in the council. He is, as you mentioned, the Armed Forces champion, and he's represented this council fantastically in that role. Probably one of the best representations throughout Wales in that role. And that is a hugely important role for us in this council. And John, we do thank you for your work with the services, especially taking forward and advancing our Armed Forces Covenant. That's really fundamental piece of work, and you've really led that, and we do, really do thank you for that. And welcomed your commitment to engage with the various services through their cadets. I think that was a great initiative, enabled them to come into council and help you out and introduce you and welcome you and it's just been really nice to see those young people engaged like they have been. And further, that engagement with young people in the recent event you shared in the Shire Hall, recognising cadets from all services and other young people who have added value and gone beyond. I thought that was a really nice touch, and so we just thank you for that side of things as well. So, Chairman, I just want to end by just saying a big thank you. You've done a huge amount of work. There's a huge amount of work left to do in this organisation, and I know you'll be at the forefront of that, because there's certainly one thing you're not frightened of is work. So once again, thank you very much for all you've done.
Thank you, Leader. I got Councillor Petruni.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'll keep it short and sweet, which is my forte. With that booming voice comes firmness and fairness, and those are the two words the Labour Group want to convey to you. As a result, you've been a world-class chairman, and you've earned our respect. You've applied the rules evenly, as Councillor Fox alluded to. You even told off some of your senior colleagues in your own political group. He has, which shows testament to you on the firmness and fairness, and a great ambassador for this council. In short, you're a world-class chairman. I think you've been fantastic. The meetings have been far more fluid. We've known rules. There's no kind of dilly-dallying about. World-class. Your charity work is exemplary. I don't want to go over it again. I want to give tribute to Heather, who I've met at Humble's Tea, and your castle's over £1,000. Well done. That's amazing effort. You've both been brilliant. And from the Labour Group, we thank you, and thank you for the past year. Thank you.
I got Councillor Howarth.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, members, senior officers, chief executive, past members, and past chair people, and I do know many of you, and it's nice to see your faces as well, and we're all there plodding along and making sure Monmouthshire is thriving. And good evening, Chairman. And good evening to your consort also, and to your family, and that's from the independent group. Also to the people of Monmouthshire who may be listening tonight. I think we are being televised, is that right? Yes? Okay, so good evening to the people of Monmouthshire also. So from everyone at the independent group, may I wish John and his consort Heather a very big thank you. John, following on from comments made by the leader and the leader of the Labour group, we as independents thought you exceeded yourself as chairman. That's not to say other chairmen have been the same, but I think we had some calmness in the chamber when you stepped to the chair, John, and we all have great respect for you. Leading on from your position as chairpersons on your select committees, you're a strong voice, but what you are is very fair, and you do listen to everyone, and the politics from John, Councillor Prosser, chairman, does not come into it at all. Your passion for Abergavenny is something else. You are very passionate about where you come from. You're passionate about Monmouthshire. We live in a lovely countryside. We have the national parks and we have the AOMB, and every one of us here are so passionate about what we think of Monmouthshire, and we're all passionate about what we do for Monmouthshire. I will move on because a couple of questions I would like to ask you, John, and I do step off the line there. My first question is, did you ever have an action man when you was a child? And my second one is, I don't know whether you did much walking when you was a child also, because I've noticed there with your comments there, we may have had a first chairman taking a selfie. I don't know whether that ever happened, but I think I was looking at some tweets that you were putting about there, and poor old Heather had gone, she was gone, and poor old John was lagging behind trying to catch up, but taking photographs also. So and you've told us now tonight that actually you didn't catch them up. You decided to take a bit of time out and go and have a drink. So we'd like to know, did you have action men when you were a child?
No, I just looked in the mirror.
Right. Oh. Well, that answers my question, John. I think your courageous and enthusiasm towards the armed forces is explanatory to this council, and it's been said by the leader there. Your passion for the armed forces, and that's why I know you didn't have an action man or an action girl even. I've got to be careful what I say. Your thoughts, and I remember seeing some tweets there about the problems that have arisen around the world there with Nepal and what's going on in the other part of the world there. And as you know, we have lots of Gurkhas in Monmouthshire who reside in Monmouthshire from the armed services. And I know your thoughts and your minds are with everybody within the armed services, past and present, and your charities. You built one of them round the foundation for the young man from Abergavenny, which I applaud you for. And that brings me back to you, John. We look forward to seeing you back in the, I won't call the backbenchers, but I know you will be part of the mechanism what makes the council work. And we have, what could I say, we have missed you, a reference to your enthusiasm within the committees there. And that's the role you've never given up, I don't think, because you've always shown that interest. You are a scrutiny champion, and it's a very integrated part of this council. So we do welcome you back there, John, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you, Heather, for your time and your commitment to the council. And I welcome the new chairman when he comes in, and look forward to seeing you later. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Phil Hobson.
Thank you, Mr Chairman, Deputy Chairman, fellow members, officers and guests. You have been undoubtedly a high-profile ambassador for Monmouthshire, just actually when we needed it. The time and the investment that you have put in, particularly with visitors from overseas, will pay dividends. There's no question about it. You have raised the profile of the cadets in particular, and I can tell you recently we had a brother and sister here, both in the cadets, and I've met them over the course of the year. They were so proud afterwards, and they were so thankful because you actually made them feel welcome. They felt they were listened to and valued, and that is so important when we invest in our young people. So I'm sure I can say on behalf of them and others, undoubtedly, thank you for the time and the trouble that you have taken this year. You've been a champion also for our defence services or our armed forces, and your name actually goes further than you may be aware. I was lucky enough to be a guest of the Army Reserve for Community Development on Salisbury Plain, where we did blow up buildings, we did drive tanks. But your name was actually mentioned, and several times, in fact. And your name, or because of you, Monmouthshire's name, is known amongst the rank and file. So they have an awareness of Monmouthshire, and the awareness that they have is that Monmouthshire supports the regiment. Now, that will also pay dividends, and I'll come on to that. You have been firm and you've been fair in meetings, probably firmer than I would have hoped, trying to catch a swift one on the Constitution. But no, your knowledge of the Constitution has been very helpful for those members amongst us, particularly those litigious or argumentative, and you know who you are. Also, just to end, it's always very difficult to speak fourth or last and not fall over what people have already said. And that's the work that you have done is having an effect, even in my portfolio, which is community development. Clearly, the links in the community are being made. The Army Reserve and the Cadets have already helped with projects this year, and I'm very hopeful and encouraged by the early stage commitments we're getting for future events and projects in the future. Next year, one of them going to be very large. I don't think that would happen unless we built those links. So I think that those changes are probably down to you and the efforts that you've made and your hard work in raising the profile. So I'd just like to say a big thank you from all of you, from all of us in the Liberal Democrat group. Yes, we are still here. Thank you. And it just says, yeah, I'm not joining. And all I can therefore say, a big thank you and welcome back to the benches.
Well done.
Thank you, councillors, for those kind words. We now go on to the next item on the proceedings, and I call for nominations for the office of Chairman of the County Council for the civic year 2015-16. Councillor Peter Fox.
Mr Chairman, High Sheriff, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen and fellow councillors, and it gives me great pleasure to nominate Councillor Brian Strong to be our Chairman for the ensuing year. Brian was born in Killeen and has always lived in Monmouthshire. He was educated at Monmouth School, and on leaving school he started working in Newport with an engineering company. He worked there for that company for over 27 years, but sadly was made redundant when that company was taken over and sadly closed down. But following this setback, Brian decided to start his own engineering company, his engineering business, and it proved extremely successful and enabled him to retire back in 1999. So there is some good things which come out of some negative things now and again. Brian has always been a keen sportsman and played cricket for Newport Athletic Club before joining Us Cricket Club in the early 1960s. It was through cricket that he met his wife Mary, and they were married in 1968. They have 2 children, Tim and Sally, both whom now live in Usk with their families. Brian has always been interested in politics, but due to his business commitments, he had not been able to take an active part. It wasn't until 1997 when at a by-election occurred in Usk, and he was able to contest and win the seat on the town council. He is still a town councillor to this day and has served as Usk Town Mayor in 2002. Brian was selected as a Conservative candidate for the 2008 County Council elections and won the Usk seat with a large majority, and he was returned unopposed in 2012. During his time as a County Councillor, he has served on the planning, licensing and audit committees and has done so for the past 6 years. In addition, he has served on the Economy and Development and Adult Select Committees. He has also been Chairman of the Central Monmouthshire Area Committee for 2 years in the previous term of the Council. Brian is an extremely well-liked and respected individual, both within his community and very much here in the County Council. His quiet, balanced but firm approach will help him to be an excellent chairman. Mr Chairman and guests, I have no hesitation in proposing this man and hereby move his nomination.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Murphy?
Brian brings an air of quiet confidence within the Council, which I'm sure will be reflected in his chairmanship. Brian, we look forward to a successful year, and congratulations on your nomination.
Are there any other nominations? As there are no other nominations, we will go to a vote. So could I see hands raised from members for all those in favour of the new chairman being Councillor Strong? And I have to say, any against? I think that was unanimous, actually, so well done, thank you. So that is the result. So the outgoing chairman, bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. Right, I now invite Councillor Brian Strong to read and sign his declaration of acceptance of office.
Thank you, John. I, Brian Strong, having been elected to the office of Chairman of Monmouthshire County Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code for the time being as to the conduct which is expected of members of Monmouthshire County Council and which may be revised from time to time.
So if you now sign the document, Brian, and then I'll invite the Chief Executive. Sign it there, date it there. And I'll pass it to the Chief Executive, who will also sign. And the Vice Chair removes his chains. And now the important part. I'll remove my chains and the chair. Here. Now, Brian, and congratulations on being elected the new chair of Monmouthshire.
I thought for a moment that I'd lost my notes, but I've got them, luckily enough, or unluckily enough. Well, thank you all very much for the kind words and the confidence that you've placed in me. I'll do my utmost to be worthy of that confidence, and I would like to reinforce what has been said about retiring Chairman John Prosser. Councillor Prosser has been an outstanding ambassador for this County Council and will be a very hard act to follow. He and his consort Heather deserve the thanks of us all for all of their dedication and for their selfless service to this community. It really has been a tremendous year for John, and I think everyone in this room has a huge debt of gratitude to him. I'd like to introduce my wife Mary, who will be my consort for the forthcoming year, and also my chaplain, the Reverend Paul Baxter, to the left, sat next to the High Sheriff. Paul has been the Baptist minister in Usk for the past 13 years, and he's done a wonderful job actually in the community during that time. My charities are the Wells Air Ambulance and the Noah's Ark Children's Hospital charity. So I hope that you will support as many events as you possibly can during the year, and thank you once more for your confidence in me. I'd now like to present Councillor Prosser with his past chairman's badge.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks very much. Item 4 on the agenda. I now call for nominations for the office of Vice Chairman of the County Council for the civic year 2015-16. Councillor Petruni.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. And first I wish to say sorry to colleagues because many of you have heard this similar speech before. I think this is the third year we've put Councillor Jim Higginson up, and there is a reason for that. He's been a tremendous public servant. He's been elected, I think, as long as I've been alive. We are proud of Jim. I'm proud of Jim, and personally speaking, he's been a tremendous person to have around. This is my first term as a councillor, and his experience has been invaluable to me over the past years. I believe he'd be a fantastic vice chairman, a fantastic representative of this county. I have to read off this because I can't remember all the achievements, if I'm honest. But just give you a brief history. Jim's originally from Ebbw Vale, worked in the steelworks in Ebbw Vale, moved to Caldicot in 1980, worked at Lamwern, became elected, first elected in 1983, that gives you a clue how old I am. Has been Mayor of Caldicot Town 3 years, joined Monmouthshire District Council in 1993, has been elected through the various changes to the councils as time has gone on. When there was a Labour administration in Monmouthshire, and there was one once, in 2002, he was a cabinet member for Housing, Personnel, Health and Safety, and represented the group at the WLGA. In 2008, he was the leader of the Labour group for the full term of the council. Like Councillor Prosser, I know, despite his strong political preferences, he'll be firm, he'll be fair, as the rules set out. And I'm proud, and I know this Labour group's proud, to nominate Councillor Jim Higginson.
Thank you very much. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Greenland.
Chairman,
Thank you, Councillor Greenland. Are there any further nominations? No. As there are no further nominations, may I please have your votes on Councillor Higginson's? I think that's unanimous. Unanimous. Thank you very much. I now invite Councillor Higginson to read and sign his declaration of acceptance of office.
I, Jim Higginson, having been elected to the office of Vice Chairman of Monmouthshire County Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code for the time being as to the conduct which is expected of members of Monmouthshire County Council and which may be revised from time to time. Hi Sheriff, distinguished guests, Mr Chairman, members and senior officers of this council. I'm not going to say much other than to say I'm absolutely delighted I'm where I am today. And, I've been here quite a while and as a consequence of that, I'm really over the moon. I'll say no more than that. Thank you very much. Yeah, and you always forget something, don't you? I'd like to introduce my consort, Mrs. Pauline Collier. Are you invited to take a seat in the front here? Thank you.
I now invite the past chairman's consort, Heather Dash, to present the consort's chain of office to my consort, Mrs. Mary Strong, together with a bouquet of flowers. I now invite my consort, Mrs. Mary Strong, to present a pendant to the past chairman's consort, Heather Dash, together with a bouquet of flowers. I now invite my consort, Mrs. Mary Strong, to present the Vice Chairman's consort, Mrs. Pauline Collier, with her chain of office and a bouquet of flowers. With the Council's consent, the remaining items on the agenda will be deferred to the meeting of the County Council to be held on Thursday the 14th of May 2015. I would now like to invite the High Sheriff, distinguished guests, my fellow councillors and guests and senior officers to join me for refreshments.